We are 1 week away from the launch of HTF Super Dirt Series at All-Tech Raceway. So in today's episode, we are going to be answering all of your questions. Since we announced back in December that we were launching the new series, we've been inundated with questions across all of our social media platforms. Now that we're about a week out from the actual launch of the series at All-Tech, we wanted to take an opportunity to sit down and go through and answer some of these for you. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, I think the first one that we keep receiving over and over again is, do we have a list of committed drivers to the series?
Yeah, so actually we have 15 as of now as we're going into the week of the race, drivers who have said that they are going to run the entire series, or at least start the season planning on running the entire series. If you've been around dirt track racing long, you know that there's a lot, like, things change with race teams. When a lot of people will say they're going to start on a series, and then as if they have a couple of bad nights or some bad luck and they're kind of out of the points chase, they'll seek other opportunities with other races and everything. But I'm pretty happy with the group that we've put together. We've been posting them slowly but steadily on our Facebook page, the series Facebook page, the different drivers that we have confirmed, and also the Rookie of the Year candidates. So it's, like I said, at 15 now, and honestly, I think we can end up with a couple more by the time the first race this week at All-Tech. So I'm pretty happy with it and excited to see how this group of guys competes with each other and other people who come run the series throughout the season.
So I guess there is an actual list right now on the website, but if you go on the Facebook page, we do have it's like a driver profile on each of the individuals that have signed up for the loyalty program. What is the loyalty program? Like, what does it include for our series?
All right, so that's kind of a page we took out of the National Tour playbook, I guess you could say, with the World of Outlaws, Lucas Oil, and XR, things that they do for their regular committed drivers. You don't really see a lot of regional tours doing that, but we wanted to give it a try. Our program is basically, it gives our committed drivers, our series regulars, free entry to series races. That's entry fees $125, so they're saving that on every race, and it makes them eligible for our mid-season points fund. So we put together a $16,000 mid-season points fund. $5,000 of that go into the driver who is leading the points after our 10th race, I believe. It's the 4th of July triple header. We have whoever's leading the points after that will get the $5,000. I think it's $3,000 for the guy who's second, and it goes on down all the way to $500 for 10th. So we feel like it's pretty good incentive. We do require for guys to be eligible for that a $500 buy-in. Kind of look at that as a deposit, if you will. Again, the national tours do something very similar, a little more expensive for theirs, but the idea is that guys are actually at least putting down a little bit of a buy-in, so that they're not just showing up and saying, yeah, I'll run your whole series, and getting free entries for the first weekend and then not coming back. So there's a little bit of a buy-in there, and like I said, we've had pretty good feedback and pretty good response, and excited to see how it pans out.
So if there's any drivers that are still kind of on the fence right now about whether or not they're going to run the series, if they're going to do a loyalty program, when do they need to sign up by? Like, what's their next steps right now?
So basically, they would need to do that at registration for All-Tech. So you can reach out this week, certainly. But what we're having guys do is when they get there, instead of paying to register for the weekend for those events, you're paying the fee to basically be in the loyalty program.
So you mentioned the Rookie of the Year also. Michael Spears asked, how will you determine the Rookie of the Series? Is it only drivers who haven't raced for Rookie of the Year in another series? So who's a rookie here? Because no one's run our series before, so how are you determining who a rookie would be?
Right. So basically, we look at the rookie as a driver that is new to regional touring, basically, or less than a year of regional touring experience. So we kind of set some parameters, I think, to kind of go by. Couple things like you couldn't have more than one $10,000 victory at any level of the sport. We look for no more than 3 regional tour sanctioned victories, and this is across any regional tour basically, and somewhere under 100 total super late model starts, right? And then there were some guys, like, there was a little give and take. Like, we had some guys who had a bunch of local super late model starts, but never really even ran regional stuff. And so that kind of, we had some give and take there, or some judgment calls, I guess you could say, based on the case-by-case situation. But I would say the guys that have been approved for it are pretty similar in level, and as far as their experience and accomplishments, and should make for a pretty good, I think 7 of them right now. So
I was going to ask, how many do we have?
I think we have 7 rookies that have applied and been approved for the rookie program, which that is it's a $5,000 award. So whoever wins the Aces Renovation sponsored Rookie of the Year, whoever wins that at the end of the year, the leading rookie in the point standings will get $5,000. It's $2,000 for second, and then $500 to any rookie who keeps perfect attendance throughout the year.
So, talking a little bit about the series schedule, but we did mention that this coming up weekend is All-Tech, which is our series opener. But after that, some of the questions that we've received are more just general in nature of like, how did you create the schedule? Like, what was the thought process in the tracks that we were going to be going to and the dates we were going to be racing?
Honestly, creating the schedule. Well, first of all, there's a lot. You're kind of cornered into certain available weekends, and there's not a whole lot of wiggle room when it comes to creating a schedule. I looked at the calendar and said what weekends make sense to race, and then you got to look at what tracks have going on, other series have going on. So it's a lot of maneuvering, right, to find the right dates. But basically, the whole goal was to create a schedule that racers in the Southeast. When I say the Southeast, I really mean the Alabama, Georgia, into a little bit of Mississippi, a little bit into Tennessee, and then Florida. That core group in that area of the deep South, if you will, what made sense for those regional racers. We didn't by any means create this series specifically for the Hunt the Front race team, but we did kind of look at, all right, we're a race team. What would make sense in the Southeast that fits that, what I just described. So what do we want to, where do we want to go race, and how much do we want to race, and how much travel makes sense to us? And that's what we did. We looked at the national tours because we want drivers who want to go run when Lucas Oil, World of Outlaws, or XR in the Southeast. We want our drivers to want to go compete with those tours, so we're not scheduling against those. And other crown jewel events like the 2 Eldora races, the Dream in the World, we didn't schedule on top of them. Didn't schedule on top of Fairbury, the PDC, because we feel like those are a handful of races that we want our guys to want to go run, some of the crown jewel races.
So if someone wanted to see this schedule, where is that at right now?
Well, we have a very nice website done by the fine folks at My Race Pass and their website division. It's htfseries.com.
Brett McCleary has asked, he goes, Joshua, I sure hope your new series isn't going to run 6 or 7 support classes every race. Maybe you have no control over that, but I really get tired of watching these regional series running way too many classes. So I think his question was leaning more towards the fact that we do have HTF TV, which is our streaming platform. But I thought that was a great question to lead into the actual event for the races we have at the tracks. So how would you answer Brett's question?
So to answer his question, there may be events that have 7 support divisions on the program with us. We're trying to get the tracks to limit it and just focus on the super late model portion. All-Tech is only doing 1 support division each night. And there's other tracks that are going to be on board with that. And there's others that they want to make sure their local drivers all get to be a part of, what's a big event there. So, however, with those tracks that are going to run more support divisions, there's going to, any of the track events we have are going to make sure that the late model portion is done plenty early. We have that in our requirements for, the way we're doing our sanctioning and our partnership with the tracks. If they want to run support divisions till 1 o'clock in the morning, I guess they can, but we're going to do our best unless there's, extenuating circumstances, rain, freak accidents, whatever, that push the program back. We're going to do our best to have the super feature done by 10 o'clock every night, every race that we go to. So, and the tracks understand, most of them pretty well, that what we're doing here, yes, we want to make sure anyone who comes to the track has a great experience, right? They have that great experience at the racetrack and want to go back to that racetrack for future events. But we also got to keep in mind that this series is really supported by the streaming aspect, and so we got to make sure that is an entertaining show for those watching from home as well.
The next question is, how does weather, so this is something we saw with the Southern Showcase, so how does the weather affect your contract between the parties involved? So is it whether it's postponed or it's canceled? It sounds like there's a lot of wheels that have to move at the same time for this to work out for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, weather, you'd be surprised if you ever get into race promoting, you'll realize that it's a bunch of watching, checking your weather apps and hoping for the best. But I don't know. There's really not. I mean, each event is going to be handled case by case. If we can push back a day and run it and get a race in, if it rains out on the day of, we'll do our best. If not, and it doesn't make sense, then we may not be able to make up a race that gets rained out. We don't have we don't have a whole lot of wiggle room. We got a couple weekends in mind that we've left open if we had to make up a race and felt like we really needed to, because quite a few get rained out or something. We will, but basically, if a race gets rained out, and that's a group decision, when a race is called, if it makes sense. And a lot goes into it with the track. So I've learned on the promoting side, if, judging a track because they cancel early in the week whenever it's showing, 70% rain all weekend, I mean, in everything, they got so much riding on it. I've learned not to fight the weather, so I don't blame them on that. But, if we do get there and it starts raining, and I'm going to, obviously the guys that prep the track are going to be the ones that are going to know when it's had too much rain and we can't get it in. But then we'll just have to evaluate if we have an opportunity to make it up, or if it just means we have to cancel the event.
Dan Orn also asks, does the series have to carry insurance for the racers, or is that something each track is responsible for?
We are actually dirt car sanctioned. That's one thing we haven't really talked a whole lot about, because it's kind of come together here late, or we're just taking a lot to get it together. But we're going to be dirt car sanctioned, which is dirt car is the same under the same umbrella as the World of Outlaws and Summer Dirt Car Summer Nationals, all that stuff. The Comp Cam series is also dirt car sanctioned. I believe Ironman is going dirt car sanctioned. So there's a lot of with the new tire rule, a lot of series in the South are finally able to go dirt car sanctioned, whereas before we weren't, because there was a totally different tire rule that was really just based in the Midwest, where the dirt car originally started. So that actually carries a on-track insurance for drivers, and as long as they're a dirt car member and it's in dirt car sanctioned events, which again ours will be, they have the driver, if injured in an event, has insurance to fall back on that I didn't even really know about with dirt car, but after learning about all their benefits and everything, is actually a really good deal. Obviously you hope no one ever has to use that, but right. In the event they do, it's pretty good to for drivers to have to some of the time, if something they're other insurance policies wouldn't cover, it covers.
So that's something that the driver still needs to take that extra step with the dirt car and make sure that they're a dirt car member, but our races are going to be sanctioned by them. So the races would be covered. Yep. And it would also, if they're a member, would be covered if they're running any other dirt car sanctioned events. Right. As far as general liability insurance, both the track has insurance and we have insurance. So from a business perspective, yes, the series still needs to have insurance. The track still needs to have insurance. So Todd Pruitt asked, who's going to be doing tech?
So that's part of our deal with being dirt car sanctioned, is they are actually providing tech and doing it based on dirt car tech, or dirt car rules. So the same way they tech at Eldora for the World 100 and the Dream is, that's going to be the same group overseeing our tech for our series. Based on the rule book, the unified dirt late model rule book that the World of Outlaws, Lucas Oil, and Dirt Car all use, they'll be teching based on that. So that's definitely a benefit. And this might be something you have a question on later, but it also kind of takes the whole tech and inspection and everything out of my hands, which I don't want to have anything to do with. So because I don't want people to think there's any kind of bias or anything. So basically, by going with Dirt Car and essentially subbing out our tech to them, there's a separation between, myself being involved with Hunt the Front and the Hunt the Front race team.
So Scott's asked, what track are you looking, well, there's two questions here. So I guess the first, let's talk about that. What track are you looking to be your Super Bowl?
I guess, it depends on how you look at it. Deep South Speedway is where we're having our finale and would be our highest paying race, and is our Hunt the Front's event, the Southern Showcase, which we had there last year. I guess that's kind of our Super Bowl if you're looking at it as a season ending.
Finale,
big finale. Ending. But, in racing, for whatever reason, like in NASCAR, the Daytona 500 is the Super Bowl of NASCAR, and it's the first weekend. So I guess you could look at All-Tech, also a big event, pays the only thing different on payout between it and Deep South is the winner pays a little bit higher For Deep South, 23,000 to win instead of 20. But otherwise, same payout, and it's kicking it off. It's drawing a lot of attention, national attention as well from national touring guys. So really looking to start it with a bang and end it with a bang.
So Scott's second question is, over the last few years, JJ had lots of complaints about tires, tire samples, etc. So what is the series looking at doing? So I guess the big overall question here is, are we doing tire samples? We just talked about Dirt Car doing the tech. What's our rules? Yeah. Where's all that?
So this is another thing that if you're really involved in dirt late model racing and follow it very closely, you probably know that there's been just a lot of, I don't want to say drama, but just a lot of uncertainties around tires right now. Last year, really the last 2 years, there was the shortage and had tire shortages and all kinds of stuff going on there, and then that kind of led to the national tours finally getting together and working with Hoosier to come out with a national tire rule and try to get everyone on the same tire rule. And what that meant is series in the South had to basically switch tires. There's a new national tire, but it is based off of the dirt car tire rule that was, so popular in the Midwest for years, but no one in the South really ran. So we've had, series in the South have had to make that decision whether to, fully embrace that tire rule and adopt that tire rule. Some have, we have, others haven't. They've kind of merged it in slightly. Again, we kind of look at it, what makes the most sense for the race teams. And when you look at the tire rules for the series that are merging it in and not adopting it fully, they're ending up with, in some cases, 8 to 10 tire options. And that's not any good for anybody, at least not the racers. And so we didn't like that. And we thought the best option, along with being dirt car sanctioned, was to go with the new Hoosier tire rule, which is going to mean that, the same tires guys run on our series in the Southeast, they'll be running those same tires, whether they go to Eldora or Fairbury or really any of the National Tour Lucas Oil races in Pennsylvania. They could go to and be on the same tire. You don't have to carry an inventory of all these different, compounds and makes of, builds of tires. So we're pretty excited about that, to be on board with that and kind of limit it and keep it under control. Yes, we'll be doing tire samples. Again, that'll be part of the dirt car. They'll be taking care of that and making sure it's done correctly and everyone's on a level playing field. You can look at what Lucas Oil, World of Outlaws, dirt car. I mean, that guys go to their races, right? And you kind of follow along what they do so that when someone, whether it's a national touring guy that goes runs with them and comes around with us on a part-time basis or just one race, whatever, they're getting the same. It's the same feel and the same look, and they're treated the same, or they're used to being treated. And then our guys, they get used to being treated. At least we're going to try, almost like they're running a national tour, right? And then when they do go run a national tour, it's almost, there's no big change, whether it's they have to go to droop and they're not used to droop. We are using a droop rule. Or they have to go get a bunch of new tires, or they're teched differently. Our goal is to make it feel like a national tour for regional guys and on the regional level.
So Ricky Stevens Jr. asked, has there been any kind of worry with it being a conflict of interest with Joseph running the series?
I kind of mentioned that earlier, but I'm not worried. I know if anyone who's been around me and when I've been involved with anything overseeing a race, I'm harder on Joseph than I, just to avoid there being the appearance of bias. I had to put him at the back at Deep South when I had the option to kind of I could have done something different, but just to avoid any issues, I told him
it was definitely a discretionary call, and you put him to the back.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's one reason with Dirt Car, we are going with them on tech, so they'll throw Joseph out just like they would throw anyone out if there's something wrong. So they're handling the tech side, so I don't have any say in that. We hired a race director, a guy who's been around the sport forever, Todd Hutto, former owner of East Bay Raceway Park down in Tampa, and he's ran his own asphalt late model series, operated his own tour for years in Florida a while back, and then he was also involved with Lucas Oil in the early days. So he's going to handle making all the calls on the racetrack. I did give him
those discretionary calls is going to be done by him.
Yeah, and we have obviously I've had a hand in making the rules and the format that he's going to use, the race procedures, all that. Again, it's based on the Lucas Oil and World of Outlaw stuff, so it's nothing crazy. But, definitely we had a hand in that. But when it comes to applying the rules and making the calls. He's going to be doing that without my input. So there's not going to be any, any bias. And I told him treat every driver the same. I don't care who they are, if their name's Joseph Joyner, or if their name's Brandon Overton or Ricky Thornton Jr. or one of our rookies. I don't care. Treat them all the same. Now I will say, we're recording this on, Sunday after Joseph just won the spring nationals race at Buckshot, and then the Mississippi State Series at Wynot, and he also won Southern All-Stars earlier this year. So I feel like that's good timing, because now if someone wants to, Joseph goes and does really well in our series. Look, he won on all three, pretty much, every other tour in the South. Like, he's, it'd be one thing if he wasn't very good on those tours and all of a sudden was good on ours, but he's proven that, he's going to be a contender. And I'm sure there'll be people who, complain about it and find a reason to complain about it, but we're doing the best we can to make sure it's not a series that caters to Joseph at all.
So along with putting together the team and our staff for this series, we also just recently announced that Travis Scott is going to be our announcer. So how in the world did you convince him to come announce for us and come out of his semi-retirement?
Good question. Travis is someone I've known for a long time. He used to announce for the Southern All-Stars and the Ultimate Super Late Model Series, and he's been around the sport. He also does a lot of, series official, race directing, all kinds of stuff. So he's been around for a long time in the Southeast. I've seen him at a lot of races. He did kind of got away from the sport for a little bit, at least on a full-time basis. And I think this past year or the year before, he started, he was the pit reporter for Flow Racing Night in America events and other Flow events. And really, when I thought about it, I knew we were getting ready to start the series or thinking about it, was at Sanoa for the Peach State Classic in November, and he was there announcing, and as always, he did a great job, or pit reporting, and kind of just listening to him there in the pit area as he was talking. I was like, this could be, I'm going to keep him in mind. And sure enough, when we got the news out about the series, I kind of reached out, and he was interested. I think, you got to remember, when we're talking about making a schedule and a tour that makes sense for drivers, it also needs to make sense for your staff and officials. And he, it's one thing he said is he really liked what we were doing, how we were kind of keeping it kind of compact and not traveling, making it crazy travel, and it was good races. And then I think the excitement of it as we started announcing the guys that were planning on running and the different races and tracks we were going to, I guess he was interested. So anyway, I'm excited to have him on board. I think he's a great announcer, definitely from, for the Southeast region, one of the best, and I think he'll do a great job.
So now he's going to be the voice of the series, but is he also going to be our announcer for all of the HTF TV?
No. So most of the HTF TV, like races that aren't on our series, we use the track, announcer and the track, track talent there. So yeah, maybe, I'm not saying no. If there's an event where we were streaming and he was available and wanted to come announce, and the track was, willing to, have some extra help, and someone come on, we would consider it. But for now, we're just focusing on the series races. And, that's our whole goal with the streaming platform. Any event we put on the streaming platform, Hunt the Front TV, we want to make sure is a good production and really good show. But we're really, really focusing on the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series races and bringing in an announcer, bringing in basically double the crew on the production side for those races. Part of that, like I said, was bringing in Travis. So he'll be, for the most part, just on the series races.
Sean Brandt asked, are we still going to be blessed with you in Victory Lane? So did Travis just fire you from your announcing responsibilities?
So I think Travis, being the series announcer, will try to make it possible for him to get to Victory Lane from the booth while the car goes to Tech. And the winners and the top three go to Tech and come back. I think in most cases he should be able to make it down to the front straightaway for our Victory Lane interviews. I'll probably fill in for interviews with the heat race winners. I've done that before in some of our stuff we've done. And so if I need to, I'll step up and do it. If not, we'll have an announcer do it. We'll see.
Okay, so the last question, Sean also asked, so hopefully we get some good vlogs from you from behind the scenes again. The one from the HTF race you did was great. That was the Southern Showcase that we did back in November. It shows what it's like being behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, so were we asking if we're going to do those?
Yep.
Okay.
Are we going to do those?
I don't know. Are we? That's up to you.
That's me. I'm the one that does them.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm planning on attending most of the series races. They're not all going to be the same. We've been working diligently to get some sort of like a content plan because we want to make sure we are able to show you the behind the scenes as it relates to the series itself. So we will have those vlogs out.
Yeah. And I like I said, the Deep South one, that was, I wouldn't be able to do those and those kind of vlogs myself. There's too much going on, especially with the series. There's a lot going on with Deep South too. But so, as long as you're there, we'll do them.
I do the recording, the editing. Sometimes that's why it takes so long for them to get out. But so we are planning on doing that. So in addition to the vlogs that we're going to be putting out, how else can someone follow along with the series?
Well, I think the first and foremost is coming to the races. Obviously, if you're, looking for something to do this weekend, come down to All-Tech Raceway in Lake City, Florida. Going to be a big show, and then just look at our schedule, and if you can, make plans to come to a race this year. Of course, we're going to be streaming these races on huntthefront.tv, so definitely check that out and follow along that way. And then, obviously, we're trying to bring the approach we brought to the race team that was unique and a little bit different with all the videos and social media content. We're trying to bring that to the series, and so we'll be posting on Facebook, both the series page and the Hunt the Front page about the series, so you can follow along there. Just definitely get the Hunt the Front TV subscription. That's the best way to follow along.
We'll put a link in the description in order to sign up for it. My understanding is we have a promotion going on this month for anyone that signs up or renews to HTF TV.
Yeah, we're giving away a Hunt the Front door panel, one of the race cars. So anyone, if you're a new subscriber in the month of April, we're going to do a drawing at the end of the month, and we'll send you a door panel. You get to choose the 10 or 1 or 56.
That is all the questions that I have pulled. So until next time, if you haven't seen the videos that Sean's referencing, there is 3 from the Southern Showcase that shows you really the behind the scenes of putting on one event. Moving forward with the series, we're going to be showing you putting on the events and the production and the directing, all of it. So if you want to get a taste of what those vlogs look like, definitely check out this playlist.
And make plans to come to All-Tech Raceway this weekend or any other series race this year. Or watch live on huntthefront.tv.
As always, we appreciate you watching.
See ya.